Welcome to I May Be Wrong.
I don't know what this world is coming to.
But I don't think so. We're broadcasting from the greater Nashville area, the home of country music, beyond the borders of political correctness and identity politics. Facts and faith are our demarcations. Truth lights our path.
Here's the Barry White of Podcast Radio,
the venerable Alfonso Ashworth.
Well, welcome to another exciting episode of I May Be Wrong, but I Don't Think So. Of course, I am your humble host, Alfonso Ashworth. Of course, the man, the myth, the legend. That's what I wear. That's what I talk about. Of course, there's a lot happening. Of course, if you're listening in live, this show, of course, has been, this is a special time, special airing of the show. This is not something we normally do, but of course, if you're chiming in, if you want to contact us on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, you can make comments, and I will try to get your comments or your questions if you have any. Also, you can find the show at I May Be Wrong, but I Don't Think So.com. You can go there, and we also broadcast there as well. If you missed the show live, don't worry, it will re-air on Facebook, and of course we do podcasts on all the major podcasts on iHeart, Apple, Google, you name it, Podbean, a whole lot of others out there, Spreaker. My friend Stanley Levy, I listen to him on Spreaker every Monday afternoon. He comes on, and of course for 2 hours you can hear Stanley Levy with Black Man Thinking. If you want to find him, you can find him there. Look, there's a lot happening. There's too much happening. There's more happening than people realize when they start talking about the problems in the United States, especially in the black community. By and large, some of this stuff is just self-inflicted. Yes, there's problems with racism. There's problems with isms all over the place. And there are always going to be problems with isms and racism and sexism and all sorts of other isms. Welcome to the show, Bill Davenport. I see that you have let yourself be known in the chat room. This is not going to stop through legislation. You cannot legislate people to like one another. This thing like with the statue. You know, I just sat in on a conference recently in my community on those who are wanting to remove a statue that has been in the center of this town since 1912. It's General Robert Hatton, and of course he fought on the side of the South in the Civil War. But mainly, of course, if you don't know anything about this man, you need to look it up. You need to do your research. Donna Jackson Roberts, welcome to the show. Hello. If you are someone and you thinking removing a monument is going to solve race relations, you are looking in the wrong place. You can move, hide, replace, do whatever you want. If you are not looking at the big picture, the fact is that a lot of the problems that are happening in our communities, especially in the poor neighborhoods, are due to the fact that in our neighborhoods there are no fathers in the home. That's the problem. The bull elephants are no longer in the herd. Mom can only do so much. My mom, she did everything. And my grandmother, who helped raise me, could not read nor write, but the poor little woman, she walked me to the library. She walked us to church. She made sure we stayed on the right path as much as she could make us do. And to this day, I still live under her creed. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You got to love your neighbors. But of course, we're going to talk about today Antifa. There are some things you may or may not know about Antifa. And a couple of things you don't know is Antifa is just not new on the scene. They're not new on the block. They're not the new kids on the block. Antifa has been around for many, many years. Long before they come to the United States, they were doing this same thing over in Europe, and they're still doing it there. They go in, they send one or two people in, they create chaos, they stir up trouble, and the masses, the people fall for it every time. They're ready. Look, many people are primed to go protest. Some are Some are ready to throw rocks and Molotov cocktails, and there's a lot of information out there on this, and if you're not willing to do your own homework, I can't do it for you in 30 minutes, and I surely can't do it for you on a Facebook post. I can only share with you what I've been able to ascertain over the years about mass movements, about some of these problems that we have with policing. All of this is some part or major part of undermining the United States and, of course, bringing the United States down to its knees, bringing in socialism and ultimately communism. Hi, Ame. Bishop, welcome to the show. How you doing? Of course, I see others that are going to chime in. I'm going to show you some videos. Let's go to video. Let's go to the video room and let's watch a few video clips. And you're going to see that some of these videos you've not seen before. Some of them you've not seen before. Check it out.
Situation in Chicago where Barack Obama rose to prominence. Obviously, his association with Reverend Wright has hurt him. And there's also been bad publicity about William Ayers and Bernadette Dorn, two radicals associated with the violent Weather Underground back in the 60s. In 1998, Connie Chung spoke with Ayers and Dorn on ABC News.
A lot of people out there are probably saying, I would love to hear them say we were young, we were idealistic, we were foolish, and we were probably stupid, we made mistakes, and we're sorry about it. We're grown up now.
I'll say we were young, we were idealistic, we were romantic, we were foolish, we made mistakes.
And we do it again.
And they do it again.
That we'd done more. I wish we'd been more militant. I wish a lot of things, but taken as a whole, we were so lucky to be born into that moment in history.
You know, the majority of people who are activists have stayed the course in a way.
And this is Miss Dorn later.
Devoted to overthrowing everything hateful about this government and corporate structure that we live in, capitalism itself, herself, himself, and determined to try to keep open.
Now, this is the guy that went inside of Weather Underground. Listen to what he has to say and his role in the organization, and he went in undercover and he worked with these individuals.
I brought up the subject of what's going to happen after we take over the government. You know, we become responsible then for administrating, 250 million people. And there was no answers. No one had given any thought to economics. How are you going to clothe and feed these people? The only thing that I could get was that they expected that the Cubans and the North Vietnamese and the Chinese and the Russians would all want to occupy different portions of the United States.
Closely.
They also believed that their immediate responsibility would be to protect against what they called the counter-revolution. And they felt that this counter-revolution could best be guarded against by creating and establishing re-education centers in the Southwest. Where we would take all the people who needed to be re-educated into the new way of thinking and teach them how things were going to be. I asked, well, what is going to happen to those people that we can't re-educate, that are die-hard capitalists? And the reply was that they'd have to be eliminated. And when I pursued this further, they estimated that they would have to eliminate 25 million people in these re-education centers. And when I say eliminate, I mean kill. 25 million people. I want you to imagine sitting in a room with 25 people, most of which have graduate degrees from Columbia and other well-known educational centers, and hear them figuring out the logistics for the elimination of 25 million people. And they were dead serious.
Folks, they're dead serious. And this was a documentary, of course. And listen, look at this.
A couple who lived above
this
the
is
shop
where we come to
confront them. Both of them were viciously beaten with a ladder and a 2x4.
These are American citizens being beaten by these fascists that some people call peaceful protesters. This is a man trying to protect his business. This is his wife being beaten.
In Dallas, a man armed with what appeared to be a sword did his best to defend a business from looters. The mob bashed him in the head with a rock and a skateboard.
These are your peaceful protesters. These are your anarchists. This is Antifa. They left this man for dead.
Oh, it's hard to watch. In San Jose, rioters with crowbars stormed the highway and attacked vehicles trying to pull drivers from their cars. In Birmingham, Alabama, a local reporter called Stephen Quinn.
Now, this is after they've taken over. I'm going to stop right there for a second. There's some other videos that I want to share before this is over with that will literally send chills down your spine. If you think that the government, the mayors, the governors, the elected officials are going to be able to protect you from this, you are in denial and you have no idea what is about to happen in this country. You have been asleep at the wheel. And if this is scaring you, then that's what I intend to do. If this is what has to happen to wake you up and make you understand, it is not about Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is being controlled by Hezbollah, or in essence, the Iranians. Black Lives Matter, they don't even have any control over their organization any longer. The people who started Black Lives Matter don't have no control whatsoever over what's happening with Black Lives Matter. They're just being told what to do, and they're given their marching orders, and they're doing it. But Antifa now is being controlled by organizations who intend to bring down capitalism. In essence, bring down America. Destroy your way of life. Interrupt your life. Interrupt your schools. Interrupt your city. Interrupt your traffic. And they're using really naive young people to do it. A lot of this started on college campuses. If you don't remember, a lot of this tearing down statues started on some of your college campuses. The college professors got out of the way. The college board, they wouldn't do anything about it. The security were told to step back and not do anything. They allowed those people to tear those statues down as if tearing the statues down was going to make people change. Of course, if you don't like what I'm saying, you can surely turn this off, and you can go back to looking at puppies, and you can go back and look at cats and kittens and things of that nature. But I'm here to warn you that things are getting way out of hand. And it's not going to turn around because some governor gets out here and says, well, we want peaceful protesting. Nobody is against peaceful protesting, but this is not peaceful and this is not protesting. This is the taking over of a government. Let's continue watching and look at some more of these videos, because this is very important. It is very important that you understand that what is happening in some of these videos has a lot to do not only with you and your future, but with your children's future and what's going on in terms of what's going to happen. Of course, they took over City Hall in Seattle, and the mayor has done nothing to stop it but appease these people. Listen what happened. This is how they took over.
On On the 12th consecutive night of protests in Seattle, hundreds of people stormed City Hall and demanded the resignation of Mayor Jenny Durkan. The protesters were reportedly allowed access to the building by a Seattle City Council member. Authorities in Seattle have been sharply criticised for their handling of the Black Lives Matter demonstrations. As in many other US cities, some people are now calling for the city police department to be defunded.
Listen to this video carefully. It's 6 minutes long, but listen to it.
As early as 1928, the communists declared that the racial differences among our people constituted the weakest and most vulnerable point in our social fabric. By constantly probing and straining at this one spot, they calculated that eventually the cloth could be torn apart and that Americans could be divided, weakened, and perhaps even set against each other in open combat. We mustn't kid ourselves into thinking that the communists have placed their agitators only into the black communities. They're working both sides of the street. They want hatred, violence, and bloodshed between the races, and they don't care how they get it or whom they use, even children if necessary. Here is a book that I think ought to be in every home library. It's entitled Color, Communism, and Common Sense by Manning Johnson. He joined the party as a young man because he honestly believed that the communists were trying to improve the conditions of his people. He was a dedicated communist, and eventually he rose to one of the highest ranks. But after many years, he discovered that instead they were merely planning to use his people in a bloody revolution to destroy America. And when he woke up to this, he dropped out of the party and devoted the rest of his life trying to alert his fellow citizens of all races to the true nature of the Communist Party as he knew it to be from the inside. Manning Johnson said, "Black rebellion was what Moscow wanted. Bloody racial conflict would split America. During the confusion, demoralization and panic would set in. Then finally the Reds say, workers stop work. Many of them seize arms by attacking arsenals. Street fights become frequent. Under the leadership of the Communist Party, the workers organize revolutionary committees to be in command of the uprising. Armed workers seize the principal government offices, invade the residences of the president and his cabinet members, arrest them, declare the old regime abolished, establish their own power." Now, here is a piece of vicious communist propaganda that perhaps some of you have seen. It's called The Crusader. It's written by Robert F. Williams, one of the organizers of the Revolutionary Action Movement. In this issue of The Crusader, the communists call not only for extensive chaos within the cities, but for putting to the torch every village, every forest, every field, and every barn. The plan is for raging fires from one city to the next. The reason? Well, first, there's the value of sheer destruction. Secondly, it would force us to deploy our defenses and rescue units over the widest possible area. The communists point out that as long as our police and National Guard remain concentrated, they're invincible. But if they can be forced to spread out over the entire city and into the countryside as well, then they can be picked off from ambush one by one. And the third value of massive fire to the communists is psychological. The average American, they say, soft and decadent, when he sees billows of black smoke rising from one horizon to the other, when at night the only light he has to see by is the flickering red from flames leaping into the sky, he'll become paralyzed with fear and panic. He'll run away and hide and do nothing to interfere with the guerrilla bands as they strike at the community's power centers. The Crusader explains how to set up sniper units in crowded metropolitan areas, how to manufacture jumbo Molotov cocktails, the gallon jug size, and how to mix the gasoline with certain ingredients to make it burn like napalm, how to pour gasoline into utility manholes in the streets to set fire to the main telephone cables, how to put sulfur tips from matches into air conditioning units and blow up large buildings, how to ignite gas mains and oil storage tanks. It explains how radio-controlled model airplanes can be used to fly explosive charges over heavily guarded fences into gasoline storage areas or munition stockpiles. It even calls for infiltration into the National Guard units. Revolutionaries posing as non-militants for the purpose of getting free military training and for gaining access to critical military supplies and heavy weapons. And then, finally, Robert Williams says this: any all-out minority revolution must create a state of crisis wherein almost all of the male population would be forced to remain in their homes to protect their property and families. The middle class is very large, but it is not accustomed to deprivation and terror. Because of its affluence, it has waxed soft. It has no stomach for massive fire, blood, and violence. The motive force behind its life drive is its endless pursuit of prestige, conspicuous consumption, and sensual pleasure. A few years of violent, sporadic, and highly destructive uprisings will set the stage for the grand finale. After the stage is properly set through protracted struggle, America could be brought to her knees in 90 days of highly organized, fierce fighting, sabotage, and massive firestorm. Ladies and gentlemen, the plans and preparations for a communist revolution of force and violence are far advanced. The organization behind these preparations has almost unlimited financial resources, and it provides both training and leadership based upon years of experience in many other countries. Our enemies are deadly serious about their task, and it's nothing short of national suicide for us to continue to ignore their plans and their progress. The violent revolution becomes of primary value to the communists to the extent to which it can be used to condition the masses psychologically to accept the non-violent revolution, which is offered supposedly as the only alternative. Hoping to avoid further violence and bloodshed, the public is to be pressured into accepting measures that will move the country gradually and legally toward communism,
defund the police,
but without calling it that.
Dismantle the
police. The strategy of the proletarian revolution calls for the quiet conversion of our government into a communist regime, but under the banner of socialism. Well, what is socialism? All right, let's define it. According to the dictionary, socialism is a political concept based upon the principle of government ownership and control of property, the means of production, and the avenues of commerce. Under socialism, those who run the government, and the communists are confident that in America they eventually will be the ones who do so, those who run the government will know who is to get something and who has to wait, and that represents control over human beings. What has all this to do with the communist revolution in America? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has everything to do with it, because the building of socialism is the communist revolution in America. It represents the process whereby...
Well, I don't know what else has to be shared. I don't know what else that I can share with you or tell you so that you realize that we are at war. Whether you want to accept it, whether you want to recognize it, whether you want to bury your head in the sand at the beaches, at the lakes, at Disney, or wherever they want you to go, to make you think that somehow this problem is going to solve itself. This started in our schools and our universities several generations ago, and now you're seeing the manifestation of it, where people are wanting to remove your history, they want to remove your society, they want to take control of your finances. They already control your children in the public school in many cases. I'm not here to demonize our public school system by no means, but I'm here to tell you there are some that have infiltrated your school boards. They have gotten in your educational administrative departments, and they have inculcated and brainwashed many young people into thinking that freedom is something that you no longer have to fight for. Of course, there are some situations where you have allowed this because you're comfortable. You live a comfortable life. As this video just said, you have the things you think you need. You don't have to fight and scrape and do the things that you once did as a people. Of course, I, like many others, we're not going to sit by and allow this to happen. Of course, if you want to have more to say about this, you can always chime in. You can always contact me and others, and you can have your voice be heard. But I'm going to tell you, it's a lot of people who are afraid to even speak up. Like I said, I went to a session to talk about race relations, to talk about issues in my community concerning one particular event or a statue that was erected in 1912 by a person that was a general in the Civil War. And I'm telling you, no movement, nothing wants to give. So when you unwilling to give, you unwilling to negotiate, you're unwilling to try to work out a deal, the only solution many times is to fight what you believe in. Normally you catch me at 10 on Wednesdays. I normally air the show at 10. Bill Davenport says they have been in our school for years now. That's exactly right. They have. Steve Thompson says hashtag powerful. That's correct. You're not going to get this on any other program outside of individuals like myself who are willing to put ourselves in the way of this, because we have nothing else to gain but to protect the Constitution, to protect this United States, and protect our freedom. That's it. That's the bottom line. I don't need your money. I don't want your pat on the back. I'm just telling you, you better wake up to what's happening and go back and share this with your friends. Go back and share this video and find these video clips. You can actually find them on my Facebook page. If you go to my Facebook, Bobby Todd says they will educate for 12 years and never have their students read the Constitution. Exactly, Bobby. Thank you for sharing that. Exactly. They'll do it and you don't even know it. You as a parent, you thinking, hey, my child is getting 3 meals a day. My child is being watched over. My child is being babysitted. My child is being taught how to read, write. Yeah, but your child is also taught how to become a militant. Your child has been educated on how to build Molotov cocktails, how to antagonize the police department. Now you have groups that want to defund and dismantle the very thing that stands between the wolf and the sheep. And you're going to sit here and you're going to allow it to happen because you are afraid to be called a name. Shame on you, America. Shame on you if you're unwilling to step up and speak out and fight back, because they are taking over your institutions and they are here to take over this country. Sammy Krause says you are exactly right. I know. I mean, look, I may be wrong, but I don't think so. Matter of fact, I'm not wrong because it's been happening for far too long. And it's not about President Trump anymore. These people that just simply hate Trump, they're in denial. They don't even know what's happening. They think it's all about Trump. That's what the communists want you to think. They want you to think if you get Trump out of office, all of a sudden the unicorns are going to come back down the middle of the street again and everything's going to be rosy. You have not seen the worst that's yet to come, and it has absolutely nothing to do with Trump. Has absolutely nothing to do with President Trump. Of course, if I could say more, do more, only thing I can do is inform you. What you do with that information is completely up to you. You can ignore it, which many of you will. You can try to educate yourself, which many of you won't. Or you can say, hey, I need to get out here and I need to confront this beast that's out here that is determined to undermine this republic. And I'm afraid they're winning. Of course, I want to thank you. If the ones who have been into the chat, those who have been listening into the video, please share this with others. And not only my video, but others. Stanley Levy with Black Man Thinking, Alfonso Rachel, many others that are out there that are doing this not because they're trying to get famous, not because they're trying to get wealthy. It's not about money anymore. It's about freedom. course, I want to thank you. I want to chime in and say thank you. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless our children. And peace.
Ashworth, the Barry White of podcast radio. Go forth and share his message. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. Remember, no two people can ever occupy the same place at the same time. You were uniquely and wonderfully made. Born an original. Don't die a copy. God bless. Peace.